He was stopped at the entrance, accused of provoking trouble, and thrown out in front of the gathered crowd, all because of a red MAGA hat. The security guard was confident he was doing the right thing, but he never thought to check who the man actually was. When the truth came out, it turned into a humiliating blow for those who were quick to judge. Now, let me tell you how it all happened. It's around 9 a.m. The convention center is buzzing with activity as it comes alive for the opening of a large forum dedicated to free speech and tolerance. Dozens of organizers and participants bustle around the spacious lobby, checking equipment, setting up decorations, and seating the first guests. Jonathan Rivers, a man in his 40s, confidently approaches the main entrance. He's dressed simply but neatly, a light sweater, dark jeans, and the unmistakable red MAGA hat that immediately catches the attention of a few passers-by. One staff member slows his pace and frowns but says nothing. Jonathan, focused on the documents in his hand, pays no attention to the looks around him. At the entrance stands Rick, a stocky security guard with a heavy stare. The moment Rick notices Jonathan's hat, his posture stiffens, and he steps forward. Locking eyes with Jonathan, he curtly asks, "Where are you headed?" Jonathan replies calmly, "I'm a participant in the forum. Here's my pass." Rick takes the document but barely glances at it before handing it back, as though it's irrelevant. His expression is one of clear disapproval. "Why don't you take off the hat?" he says with a cold sneer. Unfazed, Jonathan responds, "It's part of my world view." Rick's irritation grows. He steps closer, folding his arms across his chest. "I'm telling you, hats like that have no place here. We're here for serious discussions, not your propaganda." Jonathan calmly tries to explain. "This is an open event, and I have every right to be here. If you'd like, you can check with the organizers to confirm." But instead of verifying, Rick smirks and gestures toward the door. "Look, I'm not going to argue with you. Either leave, or I'll call the police." A few people passing by stop to see what's happening, drawn by Rick's raised voice and threatening demeanor. Some pull out their phones to record, while others exchange glances and move on. Jonathan pauses, looking at Rick with a hint of disappointment. He speaks again, still calm. "Are you sure you want to do this?" But Rick, emboldened by the attention, raises his voice further. "Yes, get out of here before I make you leave." A few onlookers start whispering to one another, confused by the guard's aggressive behavior. But Rick is too focused on Jonathan to notice. Slowly, Jonathan steps aside, choosing not to escalate further. His calm and confidence, however, leave the onlookers puzzled. Jonathan moves to the side, standing by a pillar near the entrance. His gaze sweeps the scene, but his expression remains calm. Rick, still watching him closely, looks as if he's bracing for trouble. The tension in the air is palpable. A few minutes pass. Jonathan dials a number on his phone, his voice steady. "Good morning. This is Jonathan Rivers. I'm having some trouble at the entrance. It might be worth clarifying things with security." Rick notices the call and steps closer, his suspicion evident. "Who are you calling? Trying to file a complaint?" Jonathan replies calmly, "I'm contacting the event organizers to inform them of your behavior." This clearly irritates Rick, who loudly announces for all to hear. "Call whoever you want, but it won't change the fact that people like you don't belong here. I've already told you, leave, or I'll remove you myself." A few more people nearby begin to take notice. One attendee, a young man in a formal suit, decides to step in. "Excuse me, but he has a pass. Maybe it would be better to verify the information instead of making a scene?" Rick turns to the young man with a cold glare. "Do you want to get thrown out too? I'm in charge of maintaining order here, and things like this." He gestures to Jonathan's hat. "Only cause trouble." The small crowd begins to grow. People take out their phones to record, while others whisper among themselves, questioning the guard's actions. One person asks, "Isn't this event supposed to be for everyone? Why isn't he allowed in?" Jonathan, still composed, addresses Rick again. "I've asked you to simply contact the organizers. It would only take a minute. Are you sure you want to continue like this?" But Rick, sensing his authority slipping, doubles down. He grabs his radio and loudly says into it, "We need another guard at the main entrance. We've got a provocation here." The situation escalates. The crowd's murmurs grow louder as some openly comment on the guard's overreaction. "It's just a hat. Why is he acting like this?" someone exclaims. Another guard soon arrives at the scene, looking puzzled at the tension. He glances at Jonathan, the gathering crowd, and the heated Rick. The new guard cautiously asks, "What's going on here? Is he breaking any rules?" Rick, clearly irritated, snaps, "Yes, he's breaking the rules. He refuses to leave after being told this isn't the place for political stunts." The second guard studies Jonathan, then the crowd, sensing the tension. He hesitates before suggesting diplomatically, "Maybe we should check with the organizers, just to avoid any unnecessary conflict." Rick, his authority now visibly undermined, snaps back, "There's no need to check. I said he needs to leave, and that's final." Jonathan, noticing more people gathering and recording the scene, steps forward and calmly says, "You're making a decision right now in front of dozens of witnesses. Are you sure this is how you want to handle it?" Rick, feeling the weight of the crowd's attention, yells in frustration, "I'm in charge here! Get off the property!" The crowd, now fully engaged, begins recording and commenting more actively. Jonathan, instead of arguing, takes a step back and dials another number, speaking clearly enough for the onlookers to hear. "It seems we need to have a more detailed discussion about this. I'm having issues with security at the entrance." Rick, visibly flustered, but refusing to back down, grows more tense. The crowd around them continues to grow, with onlookers whispering, recording, and openly questioning the guard's behavior. Jonathan, still calm and composed, waits patiently, letting the situation play out. Jonathan moves toward the wall near the entrance, continuing his phone call. The crowd grows larger, with people murmuring, recording videos, and quietly expressing their disapproval of the security guard's actions. Rick stands in the center of it all, feeling the mounting pressure, but stubbornly refusing to back down. He's no longer just a security guard. He's a man determined to defend what he sees as his principle. A few minutes later, the doors to the convention center swing open, and a woman in a sharp business suit steps into the lobby. It's Sandra Miller, one of the event coordinators. She looks slightly worried as she scans the crowd, quickly spotting Jonathan and hastening her pace. "Jonathan, I'm so sorry for the delay," she calls out loudly enough for everyone to hear. "We've been waiting for you inside. Is everything all right?" Rick whirls around, his eyes darting between Sandra and Jonathan. He clearly wasn't expecting this turn of events. Jonathan, still calm, nods. "It seems there's been a misunderstanding. Rick believed I shouldn't be here." Sandra looks at the guard, surprised. "You didn't know who he is?" Rick stumbles, trying to find his words, but they don't come. Just then, a few more staff members exit the building, including the forum's host, who walks straight to Jonathan with a broad smile. "There he is, the man of the hour, Jonathan Rivers." The host's words hit like a bolt of lightning. A few gasps ripple through the crowd, followed by murmurs of "wow" and "unbelievable." Rick stands frozen, a mix of confusion and realization washing over his face. "Sorry we took so long," the host continues, shaking Jonathan's hand. "You've done incredible work making all this possible." Rick takes a step back, his expression now full of panic. Sandra, noticing the guard's flustered state, presses him further. "You seriously didn't check his pass?" Rick stammers, trying to defend himself. "But he was wearing that hat. I thought—" Sandra cuts him off sharply. "The hat doesn't matter. Jonathan is the event organizer and our lead sponsor." Her words land like a hammer. The crowd grows more animated, with some openly laughing at the situation. One person recording the scene quips sarcastically, "The security guard tried to throw out the guy who paid for all of this. Perfect TikTok material." Jonathan steps forward, stopping in front of Rick. There's no anger in his expression, just calm and a hint of weariness. "I tried to explain," he says evenly. "All you had to do was check the information instead of judging by appearances." Rick tries to respond, but no words come out. His face turns red as he looks like he wishes the ground would swallow him up. "Let's move on," Jonathan says gently, turning to Sandra and the host. "We have an event to start." The host gestures toward the doors with a smile. "Everyone's already waiting for your opening remarks." The crowd begins to disperse, though many continue to whisper about what just happened. Jonathan walks into the building, while Rick remains by the entrance, feeling the weight of everyone's stares and the mocking laughter behind him. Inside the convention center, everything is ready for the forum to begin. The hall is packed, microphones are set up on the stage, and screens display the event's theme: Tolerance in an Era of Polarized Opinions. Guests are taking their seats, buzzing with excitement and talking about the incident outside. Some continue to share the videos they recorded, and the news spreads rapidly. Jonathan Rivers steps confidently onto the stage, his red MAGA hat catching the attention of everyone in the room. The host introduces him. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man without whom this forum would not be possible. Not just an organizer, but the inspiration behind today's event, Jonathan Rivers." The applause is thunderous. Jonathan raises a hand, signaling for silence, and begins his speech. "Thank you all for being here today. We live in challenging times, where our ability to truly listen to one another is constantly being tested. This morning was a personal reminder of how important it is to stay open to dialogue." His words are calm but carry great weight. He pauses briefly before continuing. "At the door, I encountered a situation that felt unjust at first glance, but moments like these give us the opportunity to show who we truly are." At that moment, the door to the hall opens, and Rick, the security guard, hesitantly steps inside. His face is still red, and he looks visibly uncomfortable as he finds a seat in the back row. A few people turn to glance at him, whispering among themselves. Jonathan notices Rick's entrance, but doesn't let it distract him. He goes on. "Everyone makes mistakes, but true strength lies in acknowledging those mistakes and learning from them." His gaze lingers briefly on Rick before addressing the rest of the audience. "This forum was created so we can learn not to judge, but to understand, to see people for who they are, not for the symbols or labels they might wear." The hall erupts into applause. Some attendees glance back at Rick, who lowers his head, clearly uncomfortable. Jonathan finishes his speech. "My hope is that today will be a step forward for all of us. Thank you." The audience rises to their feet in a standing ovation. Guests begin discussing the speech enthusiastically, and videos of Jonathan's address quickly flood social media, garnering praise and admiration. Meanwhile, Rick, overcoming his embarrassment, approaches Jonathan, who is speaking with a group of participants. Waiting for a pause, Rick hesitantly speaks. "Mr. Rivers, I'd like to apologize. I had no right to judge you based on your hat. It was foolish and wrong of me." Jonathan looks at him intently for a moment before replying. "Your apology is accepted. But remember, bias is a trap that blinds us to the truth. Do your best to avoid it in the future." Rick nods gratefully, his face full of regret. He steps away as Jonathan returns to his responsibilities, exuding his usual calm and confidence. Outside the convention center, someone recognizes Rick and jokingly remarks, "Nice work, security guy. You're an internet star now." Rick walks away in silence, knowing he'll remember this day for a long time. But for Jonathan, the day ends as a triumph of justice and tolerance, a story that will be retold by all who witnessed it.